I wanted to say, I didn't say this morning, but I said last night that yesterday was my 50th anniversary of the first high-performance thing I ever did, which was graduating from OCS and Congress saying that I was an officer and a gentleman, which is what that thing up there says. And prior to that, I had been in, other than jail or been expelled from school or hurting people, which I don't classify as anything high performance, although I beat the fuck out of some people pretty good back in the day. And also got thumped pretty good. That certainly wasn't in the category of high performance. But the point of it is that when pitted against other human beings, I excelled going through that tough training, and I hadn't really excelled at anything else other than being bad. I was a pretty good bad guy. And once I opened that spectrum up, or that Pandora's box, or that vista in my life that I could compete at a very high level as a kid, 20-year-old, the world's never been the same. Now, my experience, though, with guys that have gone through special forces, buds at SEAL training, etc., while they're, not afraid of dying, they lack emotional bank accounts. I use my dad as an example, who hero in 2 wars, but he made an investment many years ago when I was just a grade school kid. He invested $10,000 with a bunch of other high-performance alpha guys, and it wound up being a scam, a con. And there was 130,000, 13 guys all lost $10,000, and it was a lucky 13 mining company, because in those days, back in the early 50s, everybody thought we were going to go to war with Russia, so they were making atomic bombs. And one of the ingredients of atomic bomb was uranium, U-232, I think it was called in those days. And so my dad, amongst a bunch of other really rough fuckers, invested 10 grand, which is 10 grand to a young cop, a group of cops each, was all the money in the world. And it was a con. Now, who would con 13 alpha male cops? Guy had to be crazy. Now, the story is that guy is somewhere between Los Angeles and Mojave, or Mojave and Las Vegas in the desert. I don't know if that's true or not. I used to ask my dad, he'd just laugh. But he never invested again. And I've talked to more than one SEAL in recent months who had a similar experience getting conned. Now, I didn't realize this, and maybe you don't, but the biggest, the primary worst investors on the planet are normally medical doctors. They suffer from what's called the Jesus Christ syndrome. They think that, if they can save lives, they can, do no wrong. And they don't pay close attention to their investments, and a lot of them lose a lot of their money. But even more taken advantage of than doctors are Medal of Honor winners. They come back from the big war, whether it dates back to World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, more currently, and they get conned, and they put forth effort thinking that they're giving back, etc., and that, who would cheat them? Everybody. And I personally, with these lips, talked to SEALs that have come back big-time heroes from more recent wars, and they got, I don't know if cheated's the right word, or taken advantage of, or it just didn't work out. And so now they've sucked in their horns, so to speak, and they're less anxious to get involved in things, and which has proven it more difficult for the boots to suits, because we want some representation from all the forces, Navy, Air Force, Army, Marine, and Coast Guard, and most of the guys, at least the ones that we've been exposed to, have been taken advantage of, and so they're reluctant. But again, it's the emotional bank account. But one thing I can guarantee to you kids is that if you don't swing at the plate, you'll never lay the fucking ball or the bat on the ball. That's a guaranteed abso-fucking-lute. Whether it's in cricket parlance with a cricket bat or baseball, if you don't swing at the plate, you're never going to hit the ball. And a number of my Hall of Famers say the biggest thing that we learned, two things. One, there's a big difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. And if you don't get up to the plate and swing, you're never going to hit it. And, people forget that Babe Ruth, the Sultan of Swat, the Bambino, led till recently the most strikeouts of anybody that ever played baseball until recently, and he hasn't played baseball in 80 years. Just till recently that somebody surpassed him in strikeouts because he swung at everything. And now he's only 5 or 6 on the home run list, which I'm not demeaning that at all. That's a great accomplishment. But he struck out more than anybody else. And then when we go through some statistics in the next few days, Michael Jordan, I think it's 26,000 times he's given the ball to win the game. Can't be 26, maybe since his high school days, and he missed. When back in the day, in the 80s, you gave it to him to win the game, if everybody remembers, when he played for Chicago. And, of course, Michael Jordan couldn't make the junior high school basketball team. He got cut from the high school basketball team, amongst other things. But he was apparently, in as early as Mr. Choke, which I can't even believe that, but I read it. But just because I read it doesn't make it true. And I'm sure some dipshit on YouTube is going to correct me that it wasn't 26,000 times, it was only 2,600 times. Okay, but the point is that he used to not make the clutch shot. But the last year, I failed at 22 things. 22. Now, I'm sorry to say, I'm embarrassed to say, I'm ashamed to say that that's 22 more, or probably 21 more than anybody watching me on YouTube attempted. And even this group of your robust character, you kids here today. 22, but nobody's interested in the 22 I failed at. It's like everybody, I used to be the $400 million man because I turned $800 into $450 million. And now I'm the $50 billion man because I've created 50 billion. Actually, it's way, way more than 50. But I only talk about 50 because the $63 billion man or the 70 doesn't have the ring to it. Last year, I had one guy create 3.78 billion. One guy. Up there. One guy. So, but we're waiting to 100. When I reach 100, then I'll become the $100 billion man. And one of the kids, and I've already alluded to him earlier in the seminar, his goal, and then I'm reading to his goal, and I can tell instantly his goal changed. Of course, he highlighted to make sure I wouldn't miss it, that he wants to make 45 billions, because then he can call me the $100 billion man, because when he came through the seminar, I was at about 55 billion. And from his lips to the big man's ears, okay? But I continue to swing at the plate. I just keep swinging, in baseball, and I don't know the right cricket analogy, but in baseball, there's a dugout, and the dugout is below the ground level, standing down in the dugout, right? And you always see the baseball guys leaning up on the dugout, chewing tobacco, which gives you cancer. But anyway, chewing tobacco, okay. Most of you stay in the dugout of life. You never even get out of the motherfucking dugout. And then in baseball, there's a warm-up. You can be in the warm-up box, which is away from the batter's box, and you're practicing. You're watching the guy pitch, and you're practicing, pitching in the warm-up. Then some of you have actually got to the plate, and you stand in the batter's box, but the bat's in your hand down by your side. You don't put it on your shoulder. Some of you put the bat on your shoulder, and you just watch them throwing aspirins, they used to call it. And we had a professional baseball player here a couple seminars ago. And he says, you know an awful lot about baseball for never playing it. And some of you actually stand up to the plate, okay? And still watch them throwing aspirins of fastball. Aspirins by But most people never swing. You know what you're doing? You're reading books. But you think it's taking action. And occasionally you swing. Or you get struck out, 3, and you're done. A few of you go back a second time. And it takes time. You got to go through the rotation of 9 players in baseball. 9 players, and you get up and you strike out again. There's not many people that strike out more than 2 or 3 times, and then they're done. Their whole career's done. Career both athletically and, in this metaphor, in this example, financially. And but I mean, you got to keep swinging at the plate. And not everybody on that Hall of Fame hit it for 6 or knocked it over the fence the first time at bat. A couple of them did. And occasionally that happens. And when that happens, I'm so fucking surprised. I don't know whether to shit or go blind. How in the fuck? I don't say that though. Oh, I always knew you were going to, I knew you were going to lay that wood on the motherfucking ball and knock it right out of the park. And I turned around and I said, what the fuck? I mean, how did, but it does happen from time to time. It does. It does. When we talk about the young kid, Kim, you saw his picture. How can he do anything? That little fucking weenie. And he's finally watching. Now, I'm going to tell you one other thing. How many in this room could tell he was Asian? His name's Josh Kim. Now, some people say he was successful because he doesn't look Asian. Because you got to find some reason why the little fuckface was successful at 18, 19. What kind of confidence can you instill when you look 15 years old? And there's always the kids come up with a reason, and some of you will talk about it in the next few nights. And then graduation night, one of you will come up to me and says, we figured out why the kid did it. And I said, I'm all ears, kids. What? His daddy went to West Point, which is true. What the fuck's that got to do with anything? His daddy works in the Pentagon, which is true. Or you'll come up with some other asshole reason why the kid was able to do it. The reason why he was successful is because he never went to school. He was homeschooled. And like you say, Mr. Peña, school fucks you all up, which is also true. But that's not the reason why he was able. But when we go through his timeline, fired 3 chairmen, 3 CEOs, 2 CFOs, and everybody in this room will have to replace somebody on their dream team. That's a guarantee. I don't know who it is, but you better replace them before they replace you. But he just kept swinging at the plate. And I kept telling him, Josh, you're doing fine, which he was. And I said, you're doing fine if you were 40, let alone 17, 18. So, but I mean, guys, you got to keep swinging at the plate. And the thing that I tried to instill in the 2 podcasts that I did yesterday for other people, and is if the one guarantee is you won't hit it unless you swing. We had a guy who was going to be in the pro baseball, and he blew out his shoulder. I've heard more guys blow out their shoulder that were going to play professional baseball than I got hair on my fucking head, and which is thinning now, but hair on my head. Everybody was going to be, on the Red Sox or the Who. Okay. But, and I said, who would you pick to be a batting coach? Ted Williams, who was the last person to bat at over 400 in professional baseball, or Joe Doofus. Well, the answer is obvious. Okay. Well, you now have the Ted Williams of high performance coaching because you're sitting here, you just have to. It has to become part of your DNA that you're going to miss a bunch of times, but again, the only guarantee is that if you don't keep swinging, and almost everybody in the room, not everybody, will morph their idea. For sure, their dream team members. you'll go through, now I'm not saying like shit through a goose, but you'll go through various people because people interview different than they react. You know how you interview. You know how you write your CV, your resume, and then you know how you really are, right? Well, people are, senior people are no different. A lot of these guys are professional interviewers. They really know how to, put their best foot forward. And of course, you're going to be new at it because you have not interviewed this senior a person before, in most cases. You have not interfaced with this senior a person before. And for the young guys, you will be hesitant to tell them no. You will be hesitant. So it's just a given. Now, Josh, who is Asian, and it does look young, but to me, all the 19-year-old, 20-year-olds look young. I mean, and when you're 70, almost 2 in a few weeks, 50-year-olds look young to me. When Sally and I cruised up the west coast of Scotland a few weeks ago, see, I've been all over the world. I've been to 111 countries. Sally and I have been married at the North and the South Pole. We've been every place. But I've never been to Scotland. I've lived here over 30 years. I've never been to Inverness. I've never seen the Loch Ness or Nessie look for the Loch Ness Monster. I've never done any of that shit. So one of the bucket list things was for this year is to see Scotland. So we sailed up the west coast of Scotland. We're going to sail up the top of Scotland and down in a few more weeks. And Sally and I stayed in the suite that the Queen, when the Queen had to give up her yacht, the Britannia, she rented this boat. And so Sally and I had the Queen and the Prince's suite. That's we had on the boat. And there were about, surprisingly enough, a third of the people on the ship, there was only about 50 people, were from Scotland. I couldn't believe it. Why would you, I mean, but more than half of the third were all women, widows, that their husband had left them well fixed. And into their mid-90s, some of these old grannies were, and they were calling me young man. Yeah. And he says, oh, you're in pretty good shape for your age. In fact, you're in very good shape. I said, thank you. So the next day we're off on one of the islands, and Sally and I crawled up this mountain to this famous site, and there was one of the 90-plus grannies behind us, not that far behind us, I might add. And she gets up there and sits on a bench. And says, could you take a picture of me on this bench? And so the plaque that it was that said this is bench's honor of blah, 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 you couldn't read because it's all rusted up. And she says, the last time I was here was with my grandson. He was 6 years old. Okay. He's 53 now. Her grandson's 53. And they gave this bench to my husband for doing something for the island. I forget what it was. And so if her grandson's 53, that mother would be 73, 75. So, i.e., she's in her middle 90s. But she got up there. It was quite remarkable. Okay, YouTube, see you tonight. Thank you.